Hello guys, welcome to the Spring Boot 0 to Infinity course. This is going to be the second part of the bean scope and the lifecycle methods. In this video, we will learn about how we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean and the vice versa. So before starting the video, let's quickly see currently where we are in this course. So as you all guys know, this course is going to be divided into two parts. In the part 1, going to the Spring Boot backend foundation, in which we will master our from the core Java to how we can secure our REST API. So in the part 1 is divided into the 5 level. In the level 1 we will learn about the Spring core. In the level 2 we will learn about the Spring Boot and the MVC architecture and how we can build the REST API. In the level 3 we will learn about how we can use the database in our Spring Boot application and what is data persistence and why there is need of it. In the level 4 we will learn about how we can secure our application using the Spring security. And then level 5 we will learn about how we can deploy our Spring Boot application. So after part 1 you will be able to create your any type of Spring Boot application, monolithic application. So in the part 2 we will learn about how we can scale our Spring Boot application using the different methods. So in this level, in the part 2 we will learn about the microservice architecture, how we can do the event driven programming using Kafka, how we can use the Redis to improve the performance, how we can containerize our application using Docker. Then we will learn about Spring Boot testing, and then finally we will learn about the Kubernetes. So this is going to be the in-depth course in which I will teach you everything in a great detail with real life practical examples. So currently we are in our level 1 Spring core, in which we have already covered all this topic. In the previous video we have learned about the bean scopes and the life cycle. So in today's video we will learn about how we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean and vice versa. In the upcoming videos we will learn about the proxies, what is the aspect oriented programming, and what is transaction. So this will complete our level 1, that is Spring core. So after completing the level 1 we will be doing two projects. One will be the mini project, we will build one notification system from the scratch, and second there will be a Zomato clone which we will make using only Spring core, so that you will get an in-depth understanding of how Spring core application actually works. So this is going to be the whole path of our Spring Boot 0 to Infinity course. So let's start today's video. So what we will learn in today's video? So in today's video we will learn about how we can use singleton bean inside the prototype beans, and then we will learn about how we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean, and then we will learn about the real world use cases. So this is going to be our today's video's agenda. So after this video you will clearly understand how Spring inject prototype bean inside singleton beans and vice versa, or basically how to use one scope of the bean inside another scope. So let's start today's video. So first of all you will be thinking why this lecture exists. So what was the problem? So basically Spring has different bean scopes. So as we already know, Spring has different bean scopes, but when beans depend on each other, scopes behave differently during injection. Basically, as we already know, Spring has different bean scopes. One is the singleton bean scope and another one is the prototype bean scope. But Spring beans depends on, but when the Spring beans depend on each other, for example, if the singleton bean depend on the prototype bean, it by the mean depend like that is when the singleton bean has a dependency of the prototype bean, then scope behave differently during the injection, and this creates the confusion, bugs, and the memory issues. So that's why we are going to learn in this video. So what are the questions that we will answer in today's video? So in today's video we will answer these questions, like can a singleton bean uses a prototype bean? For example, can a prototype bean uses a singleton bean? What actually happens internally, and when should we use each approach in the real project? So I will explain you each in great detail with the real life example. So this is the problem statement that we are going to solve in today's video. So let's do a quick recap what we have already learned in the we have seen that in the Spring there are two types of scope. First one is the singleton scope, and it is by default. And what is in the singleton scope? There is only one object per Spring container, and it is created at the startup and it is shared by everyone. So this is the singleton bean. By default it is created at the startup because it follows the eager initialization. And the second type of scope was the prototype scope, and it is created in this type of scopes. The new object is created every time it is requested, and it is created on demand, and Spring does not manage its destruction. We have already learned in the part 1 of this video. So what was the key rule? So the key rule was that we have learned in the part 1 that injection happens only once during the bean creation. So remember this is going to be this is the most important rule, and this will clear all your doubt. So remember this what you need to remember that injection happens only once during the bean creation. So remember this, everything depends on it. So let's start part 1. So first we will learn about how we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean. In the part 1 we will learn about how we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean, and in order to explain this we will be using example of the report generation. So in order to implement that report generation, we will be using the two classes. First one will be the report service, and another will be the report generator. And this report service will be of type singleton, and this will be of the type prototype. So let's start it with how we can use the singleton bean inside the prototype bean. So this is the singleton bean, and this singleton bean depend on the report generator for its working. So we can say that the singleton bean depend on the prototype bean. So let's start with the coding. So basically I have created empty Spring project. So basically let's come here and create one class known as the report generator, and mark this class as the component, and mark this class as component, and also mark this as its scope to the prototype. So this is going to be the prototype bean, and we will use it in the inside the singleton bean and see its behavior. So basically in this there will be one method called the void generate. What it will do? Public void generate, and what it will do? It will basically generate the report. So basically it will print generated the report using, and it will print the name of the reporter that it will be using. And let's also add one constructor to it, like that will print whenever this instance will be created. So what it will print? So it will print like new instance created, and what its type is prototype. And also let's print it. And this is of our prototype bean, and let's create one singleton bean that will use this report generator. So that will be the report service, and here we will mark it as service, and by default the scope is singleton, that's why we don't need to mark it. And here we will use the report generator as the dependency, so we will mark it here, and we will type report generator, and we will do it with the help of field injection. We can also do it with the help of constructor injection. And also let's here add the one constructor, so that we can get whenever its instance is created. And let's print here new instance created for the singleton, and name it report service, and also print its hash value using this. And this will contain one method name. Let's say public void generate report. And what it will do, it will print, call the report generator dot generate. And let's come here and let's report service is equals to context dot get bean, and we will get the report service dot class. And what we will do, report service dot generate report. And again, suppose it is the report service 1, and let's say report service 1, and again we will do report service 2 is equal to context dot get bean report service dot class. And again we will do report service 2 dot generate report, and let's print it, and let's see what is its behavior. So what we are expecting is that since the report service class depend, since the report here the report service is a singleton bean, and we are using the prototype report generator is the prototype bean, and we are using the prototype bean inside the singleton bean. And since what we are expecting is that, so what should happen, since it is a prototype bean, so whenever we will call this generate report method, so every time the new instance of the report generator should be created. So let's run it and see what is happening here. So here we can see that the singleton instance is created, new instance, singleton instance of the report service created, and its report service is created. And we can see from here that the prototype instance of the report generator is created only one time. And in both the cases, the report service 1 and report service 2 dot generate report, the same generator are used. So we are not expecting this. We have used the prototype bean inside the singleton bean, and therefore every time we call the generate report method, so every time it should inject the new report generator as it is a prototype bean. But we are not getting this, we are getting the same generator every time. So in both the cases we are getting the same generator. So why it is behaving like that? So let's see. So what we have used, so we have a report generator, and we have used the report generator inside the report service, and we are expecting that every time we will call the process or generate report method, the new report generator should be injected as it of type prototype. So what we are expecting, so we are expecting that the new report generator should be used for every call. But what actually happens, so basically the same instance are used every time. As you can see from here, the same instance of the report generator is used in both the cases. As from here you can say that the same instance of the report generator are used. So why this happened? So let's see why it happens. So why this happened, what is its internal working? Let's see why this thing happened. Let's see what is its internal working. So since the report service since report service is a singleton bean, so Spring create it once. Since this report service bean is of type singleton, so the Spring create this bean only once. And as we know that the Spring inject the dependency during the bean creation, so the dependency are injected only once. So so what happened that, so here is our report service bean, and it is created only once since it is of type singleton, and during the creation the dependency are injected into it, and it is stored in the Spring context. So it is not stored in the Spring context. So now every time we try to use the report service, the same report generator are used because it is stored in the Spring context. So we can say that the prototype bean become locked inside the singleton bean. So prototype loses its meaning. So we can say that the prototype loses its meaning inside the singleton bean. So how we can avoid this problem? How we can avoid or solve this problem? So We can solve this problem using the two methods. So let's see first type. So how we can solve this problem? So this problem can be solved using the object provider method. So let's see how we can solve this problem. So come here to the report service. So basically the problem is this line, because during the dependency, when the Spring create the singleton bin, it inject the dependency, and after that it does not modify the singleton bin. That's why this dependency become locked. So the prototype bin loses its significance or its meaning. So basically comment this code, and what we will do now, we will be using, what we will use, we will use the object provider. So object provider and type of the report generator, and we will name it as provider. So now it is the responsibility of the, and we will this instruct the Spring to inject this provider. Now it is the responsibility of this object provider to give us the prototype instance of the report generator. So what we will do now, so every time we will call this method, what we will do, we will report generator is equals to provider dot get object. So now every time we will call the generate report method, that it is the responsibility of the provider to give us the object of the report generator. And now the object generator is of type prototype. So the bean, every time the new instance of the prototype will be given by the Spring. So now let's run it and see what is happening. So in order to properly distinguish it, let's here add this line, second uses, and let's print the blank line, and previous also black line, and let's print it. So from here we can see that first the new instance of the singleton bean is created, and the new instance of the prototype bean is created, and the report is generated using the generator this. And the second, for the second users also, the new instance of the prototype bean is created, and now the report is generated using the different generator. So now we can say that every time we call the report generator method, the new instance of the report generator will be used. So basically we don't need to use the service 1 and service 2. Basically we can use the service 1 also, and let's remove it from here. And what we can do from here, every time we will use the call the generate report method, the new instance will be called every time. So from here we can see that the new instance of the new instance is created each time when we call the generate method. And let's print third time. The third time also the new instance of the report generator will be created. Let's write here third use cases, and let's again call this method, and let's run this method. So we can see that every time the new instance of the prototype bean is created, new instance, again the new instance of the prototype bean is created, and all the report generator are different. What does the Spring does now? Now the Spring create the report service. Since it is of type singleton, create the singleton bean, inject the dependency of the object provider here, and store it in the Spring context. Now every time we will call the process or generate report method, the Spring, the provider will provide us the object of the report generator each time, and each time we will get the different instance. So now the prototype scope now regain its uses. So we are getting the different object. So it is a correct prototype behavior that we were expecting. So we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean using the object provider. So now let's see how we can let's see the second method. So second method is using the lookup annotation. So in order to use it, what we need to do? So first we need to declare our class as abstract class. So first we will need to declare our class as abstract class, and we need to declare one abstract method known as get report generator. So the Spring will override this method and give us the report generator each time. So what will happen here? Spring will override this method and return new prototype bean each time. So let's see how it will work. So come here to the report service, remove this, comment out this code, and what we will do, so first we will declare our class as the abstract class. And now what we will do, now we will use the lookup annotation and we will declare one method, public abstract report generator get report generator. We can name the method anything that we want, and what we will do here, we will call here, let's comment out this code, and what we will do, report generator is equals to get report generator. And so what we have done, we have declared our report service class as abstract class, and we have declared one method get report generator and mark it with the lookup. So what will Spring do? Spring will internally override this method and return us the prototype bean each time. Let's run this code and see its behavior. So now we can see that it's working as same. So every time we are calling the generate report method, it's giving us the new instance of the report generator. As here you can see that it is of different report generator and it is also different, and every time the new instance of the prototype bean is created. So this is the second method of using the prototype bean inside the singleton bean. So we should basically, but generally we should avoid this method because it seems like more magic and less explicit. So we should use carefully, or we should avoid this approach. So these are the two ways how we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean. So now there will be a question like, okay, now I get how we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean, but when to use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean in the real world use cases. So basically, so we should use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean when the dependency must be new on every call, stateful, short-lived, or request or task specific. Basically the singleton bean stays the same and prototype is created on demand. So when we should create it, when we need a new instance of the prototype bean on every call, and the prototype bean is stateful, short-lived, or it performs a specific task or request or task specific. For example, here we can see that, consider we have a business requirement of PDF generation. So multiple user can generate the report or PDF generation or report generation. So what is its business requirements? For example, we have multiple user A, user B, user C. So all the users want to generate the report. So basically there will be one report service. So the report service will contain the flow and do the validation. So this validation and flow will be same for all the, so the report service will remain singleton, but it will depend on the report generator, and this report generator should be unique per user, because this report generator will contain the states like number of pages generated, temporary file that it stores. So this should be the prototype bean. So the prototype bean is used inside the singleton bean report service. So there is a report service, and inside the report generator will be used, and this should be unique per user. Why it should be unique per user? Because for each user the number of page generated will be different, and this report generator will contain the states like number of page generated, temporary file, etc. So basically we should use the prototype bean inside the singleton. We should use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean when there is a need of like this. So the prototype bean perform the actual task, and singleton bean will manage the or coordinates. So these are some of the scenarios where we can use the prototype bean inside the singleton bean. For example, in the case of the file upload, the file service will be of type singleton, the file processor will be of type the prototype, and the file service will depend on the file processor and it delegates its work. So singleton bean will define what to do and when to do, and the prototype bin will decide how to do, and it should be unique per user. So these are the some of the cases where we should use the prototype bin inside the singleton bin. Let's see the part 2, how we can use the singleton bin inside the prototype bin. So so let's see how we can use the singleton bin inside the prototype bin. So basically, consider the same report generation example, and let's say we have new business requirement like every report page should be logged. So every report page should be logged or follow some common configuration like path or like that. So in this case, so these concerns are shared and it will be the same for all the user, and it is not a user specific. So in this case we can use the singleton bin. So let's see. So it is a perfect candidate for the singleton bin. So what we will need to do, so basically we have a report service and it is uses the report generator and is of type prototype bin. So now every report page generated should be logged. So it will be use the report logger to log the request, and it is of type singleton since it is remains stateless, and same logger can be used for the different instance. So let's see how we can do it. So come here and create a new class named report logger. Now report logger and mark it as the component. So basically it is of type singleton bin, and let's say public void log, and let's pass here string message, and let's print here print the log, and here print the message. And also let's here add one constructor so that we can get report logger, so that we can get when the new instance is created. New instance of report logger created. And now the report generator, since the report generator is of type prototype and we are using the report logger which is a singleton inside the prototype bin. So now here report logger, and let's mark it as private. And every report pages should be logged. Like from here we can use, so here we will write some our logic and we will use the logging method. So what we will do, we will use the report logger dot log method. Sorry, we need to inject this, so let's do with the help of the field injection, and here we will use report logger dot log. So now here in the real world use cases, here we will implement some logic. Here we will implement some, here we will some heavy logic of report generator. So now we are using the, so here the report generator is of type prototype, and here we are using the report logger which is of type singleton. So let's see what is its behavior, and also let's print here like log message, and also print using logger and print its ID so that we can see it. And now let's run it. So where is report generator? So it's generated the report using this. Let's remove this line because we are not concerned about we are concerned only about the report generator. So let's print here using logger and here print the report generator, report logger, and from here report logger remove this line. Now come here and rerun it. So from here we can see that the report logger is created only one time. It is of type singleton. The report service is created only one time, but the prototype bin is creating every time. But we can see from here that the report logger, the same report logger is used everywhere in every prototype bins. So generated the report using logger, same logger are used in each the prototype bin. So basically the report generator is of type prototype and the report logger is of type singleton by default. So we are using the report logger inside our report generator, which is of type prototype. So we are using the singleton bin inside the prototype. So this case is safe. So we can see that the code is expected as the code is behaving as expected. So it is safe by default. So what happened? So at runtime, Spring create one report logger and stored it in its context, and all the prototype bin will be using the same report logger. So Spring create the new report generator per request. Each generator share the same logger. From here we can say that the each generator new instance of the prototype is created but using the same logger. So the each generator shares the same logger, but the Spring create the new report generator per request and the Spring create one Spring report logger only. So at the startup, what happened at the Spring, when the Spring starts, it create the one logger and this log and store it in Spring context, and this logger is used in every prototype report generator scope bins. So this case is safe by default. So this case is safe, efficient and scalable. Now you will be thinking like, why does when we use the singleton bin inside the prototype bin, why it worked naturally? So because the singleton bin exists before the prototype and stored in the Spring context. So since the singleton bin created a startup and stored in the Spring context, so a singleton bin exists before the prototype, and the prototype requests the singleton bin, and singleton here does not hold any state, so it is reusable and the thread safe. So this is the most common real world setup for using the singleton bin inside the prototype scoped bin. So now you will be thinking like, what happened if the logger was prototype? So the new logger will be created per report, waste of memory, and there will be no benefit. For example, come here and let's mark the report logger as prototype. You will see that the new so now if we run it, the new logger will be created for each generator. From here you can see that for the first report logger is created and printed using this. Second time the new instance of the report logger is created, again the new instance of the report logger is created, and so for each time the new report logger will be created. So the new logger, so if we use if the logger was prototype, the new logger per report, so it will be of the waste of memory and there will be no benefit. Since the logger is of stateless, so we can make it as singleton by default. So there is one catch point, like shared infrastructure should be singleton. So now let's see the summary. So when we can use the singleton bin inside the singleton bin, so is it allowed? Yes, it is allowed. What is its default behavior? There will be one shared instance. It does not require any special treatment. Typical use cases like in the service and the repository class. Can we use the prototype bin inside the prototype bin? Yes, we can use it. It is allowed. What is default behavior? The new instance will be created per request. Special treatment is required. Typical use cases like task and the workers. Can we use the singleton bin inside the prototype bin? Yes, it is allowed. What is its default behavior? So shared singleton bin will be reused. Does it require any special treatment? No, it does not require any special treatment. Typical use cases like logger configuration and DB. Can we use the prototype bin inside the singleton bin? Yes, we can use it, but it is little bit tricky. So what is its default behavior? Its default behavior is like the prototype bin is created only once. So it needed a special treatment using the object provider and lookup. So for example, and typical use cases like per request workers. So this was whole for the today's video. Thank you guys.